welcome to What the Flick. Tim, Alonso. Today we're going to be doing Outcast, Season 1, Episode 6, From the Shadows It Watches. From the Shadows It Watches. Now I see my tally light. Thank you. To be fair, there's no tally light on the wide shot.
Yeah, I know. It's throwing us all off.
It's fine. Okay, so in this episode, we begin with Reverend Anderson going over his old VHS tapes of his exorcisms of the past.
How long ago were these exorcisms? Because, I mean, when did you stop buying blank VHS tapes?
I don't know. I didn't know that he had a cinematographer documentary crew following him around.
I didn't even think about that. You're right, yeah.
So, but he's clearly documented them extremely well, and now he gets to relive them all, but now he knows most of them were failures, if not all of them.
Not all of them, yeah. Fake. So there's that, and then Kyle, meanwhile, is clearly trying to get thee behind me, Satan, is trying to put all that behind him and just like have a job and try and support his family, and but that all falls apart because the family doesn't want to be supported, at least the wife doesn't, and he really can't. You know, they keep dragging him back in.
Well, I mean, he picked a job to get away from the weird black tar monster where he deals with black pitch and tar all day.
So what better than being on a road crew?
I don't know. You would think that his mentor would guide him somewhere else, but he's on the rocks with his mentor. His exorcism mentor, anyway.
True, yeah, and he's not the greatest mentor, let's face it. Now, so I guess we're still not told yet about what's happening with the mouth stuff, which I know that sounds really dirty, but what
that mouth do?
What that mouth do, exactly. And so, you know, like, how is he different after getting assaulted by Mildred? And why is Mildred dead now? And, you know, so again, there's this little... for every answer we get, there's a couple more questions, you know, that they're dangling our way.
So the only thing that we've learned is, you know, we knew Mildred's time was limited. Yeah. That she doesn't think she's going to make it to the merge.
Right.
So
whatever that is.
Whatever that is. So in order to facilitate that, she takes something from the Outcast. So it clearly is either rejuvenative or life-giving or time-extending to these creatures somehow. But we know that now the Outcast and his light mouth gas stuff is of limited supply. Because Sidney tells her, do you know how many lives you put in jeopardy because of this stunt?
But did it work if she's dead, or did Sidney kill her as a punishment?
Well, she might have gotten enough to last a little bit longer. She probably didn't get as enough as she wanted because Sidney assumedly ripped her off mid-feeding.
Right, but it still sounds like, if he's making it sound like she took a bunch of people's worth of juju, then she would have gotten more than a day or so.
She got into the kitty. She took more than her fair share.
Exactly.
But you read dead and I read comatose at the end. Do you think she's dead? They pulled her away on a stretcher, but she wasn't like in a body bag.
Oh, yeah. Oh, good point.
And her eyes were open. Nobody... You know.
Right. Okay, yeah, you're right. Maybe not dead. I didn't think that through, but that's true.
Comatose seems to be the solution for everything.
Yeah, oh yes, a lot of that going around, I guess because his mom is still in one too. Yeah, you're right. No body bag equals not dead. Okay, fair enough. That I'll give you.
But I'm under the impression Sidney did that to her. It wasn't just like her time.
Right.
And like she ran out of it. It was like, no, we can't have this wild card running around sucking up the Outcast.
Indeed. So meanwhile, we find out that Rapey is now considering pressing charges. And I shudder to think what his bargain is going to be to
or
not
raping, I assume.
Press charges. Yeah, that was the implication.
He seems like a one-dimensional character right now.
Yeah, which, if anything, is just, you know, more encouragement to finish the job, you know.
Thankfully, Megan didn't go for it. Because that could have been one of those things in TV shows where, like, she doesn't go home and talk to her husband and get the real story and just gives the guy what he wants.
Just grabs the pillow.
And
or that, too,
to keep him quiet and to try to, like, put this all behind her. So that didn't happen, thankfully.
Right. Well, she's seen enough shows to know that blackmailers, it never ends, you know, once you start down that road. And obviously, it's the last thing she'd want to do anyway.
Press charges rightfully so. He did beat the shit out of him.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah, and it's on camera.
He has a leg to stand on this. Don't get me wrong, but, you know...
Not the best solution, but...
No. And then there's also the camper and the fire chief and the prostitutes.
And the fingernail.
And the fingernail.
With the DNA that lies.
Yes, just ask anyone on death row. Yeah, so the fire chief is just getting shadier and shadier. And the thing is, it would almost be interesting if it turns out that all that stuff has nothing to do with the occult stuff. It's just some shenanigans.
He's just getting his rocks off in the woods,
Yeah.
not possessed, not part of it.
Yeah, some purely non-occult, nasty business. But I suspect that all roads lead to, something ooga booga on this show, Yeah, so that he's emerging as someone to watch, obviously, as a threat.
And the Reverend's girlfriend, Patricia, gets a bigger role in this episode.
Yes, right.
Not only do we see her offer to help the Reverend, but we also meet her son, who was the kid that spray painted Satan Lives on the Church.
Right.
And then she goes to Kyle for help because she thinks the Reverend is out of his league.
Right, and then the son, who seems like he's just going to be a petulant pain in the ass, winds up being the one witness to is it Sidney, right?
Yes.
Yeah, attacking Kyle. So
attacking the Reverend.
Attacking the Reverend, right? Sorry, yes, again.
And carving a big old pentagram on his.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's talk about that for a second. That many intersecting lines on skin, like flaps start coming up, right? You can't.
Big things should fall.
That's some really precision work there, and and not that Sidney probably doesn't have some practice at this, but.
And I know Sidney threw him across the room, but the Reverend seems to just stand there and be like, "I guess this is happening. No need to fight back. I won't try to take a swing."
Also, if the Reverend is being threatened by Sidney, then obviously he's better at his job than he currently thinks he is.
Yeah, I guess.
Right?
Maybe he thinks that Reverend is pulling the strings even though Kyle's the one with the power and that Kyle's a lot easier to manipulate.
Or that Kyle is not reachable in this way, but the Reverend is, and so it's a way to scare Kyle indirectly. Again, so many questions.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. The only other thing that happens, I don't know. There's there's the Exorcism of the week. So the week.
Oh, right, yes.
With I don't have his name. He's the big,
Abraham Ben Ruby. Caleb, I believe.
Caleb, thank you. Yes. Which is interesting now because
the warm love of Satan.
Right. So Kyle shows some resolve in the sense that I'm going to cut right to the end. We're not going to bother with any of the holy water and the psalms. I'm just going to put my hand on your head until it works.
Right.
And it does.
Yes. And at first I couldn't even tell. I was thinking, is he shaping it in the air or is he just repelling it?
Yeah, it seemed defensive to me. Like, my hands are magic and they do stuff and you don't want to touch me because, look, I'm ready for you.
Right, back off.
Yeah.
Cloud of goo.
I don't think he was, clay forming in the air.
No, but Caleb brings up the interesting point of...
It was nice.
Yeah, and a lifetime in this church, I never felt that.
I wasn't afraid. I can't tell people that they don't want this because it felt really good and warm and filling. And
we were talking in the Facebook Live before about how this show and Preacher run on such parallel tracks. And I find them both interesting as an atheist because I think that these shows, in a way, or in a big way, are about how religion exists for us to kind of try to name and tame the just chaos of the universe.
The unknowable, the unseeable.
Yeah, and to think that we have some say in it or some leverage to change things somehow, or that if rules are created and we follow them, then we're okay.
Well, that's the whole point of religion, is hear all these rules and follow them and you'll be okay.
Yeah.
If you don't follow them, well, good luck.
Right, and while on the one hand that's really sort of repressive and a way to kind of control people's behaviors, it also implies that individual actions influence large, out-of-control phenomena, and so it's... These shows, on the one hand, I think kind of call into question the notion of religion, but at the same time, they take these issues so seriously and they put them in these terms of angels and demons and gods and monsters and whatever, that it's supporting the notion of religion, but at the same time allowing people who are not into religion to stand aside and be like, well, see, that's where this all falls apart.
Yeah, and it also presupposes that the punishments and rewards that we've been told are real, even though they have no basis in reality or fact.
Right.
aren't necessarily that way. That demonic possession isn't something to be feared. It's
Right.
actually pretty pleasant, and you might like it if you gave it a chance.
Yeah, I mean, and to quote the guy on Preacher this week, why do you follow a God that is silent? You know, so yeah, so there's a lot to chew on with both these shows, and I think that I think if I have to pick between the two, I prefer Outcast just because I like its approach. That it's not trying to be jokey, and it's very not stylish isn't the word, but it has a tone that it keeps to, and I think is effective for the storytelling. But I'm into both. I'm enjoying both.
That's why we're doing this.
Well, we've done this for shows I'm not enjoying, but
Okay.
in the case
That's
of
why I'm doing this.
Okay, well, good for you.
I could just put down my wrench and walk away. I don't like it.
How nice for you. But no, luckily I'm still on board for both of these. So all right, we'll be back next week with more Outcast. Thanks for watching.